Join us as we ride the newest addition to the Amtrak network, the Borealis.
Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new Trains Are Awesome video. I'm Tom, I'm in Chicago, and this is really exciting stuff, you guys. It's not often that we get to say this, but today we are riding Amtrak's brand new service. I'm talking about the Borealis train from Chicago, Illinois to St. Paul, Minnesota. The Borealis launched just a few days ago, so might not be on the first train, but on one of the first, and that's good enough for me. Let's go to Chicago Union Station.
Our journey today begins at Chicago's Union Station. Located not too far from the loop, Union Station serves 6 commuter lines and many different Amtrak routes. My favorite part of the station is easily this impressive main hall. The space is so beautiful and serene, it makes it feel like I'm united in travel with passengers from 100 years ago. Well, almost 100 years ago, Union Station opened in 1925.
Here we go, top of the screen. It's the Borealis. Now it's feeling real.
So as we leave the main hall, we'll make a left and go to the north boarding gates. The majority of Amtrak services leave from the south boarding gates, but the Borealis will be leaving from the north. But we won't have to be here long. We're already being called to board the Borealis.
Where's the Borealis?
You're going in it. Keep walking. Keep walking. There you go.
That's not right. That's better. And here's our train, the Borealis.
There we go, the Borealis. It's got a P42 on the back in that beautiful Phase 7 livery. Love that color scheme. If the train is going to be anything like the station, I'm in for a wild ride. Screaming kids. One guy was literally just cutting under the little barriers to cut in line. Come on people, we're all getting on the same train. Calm down.
And it looks like it's made up of Horizon cars. Interesting choice. I know the Horizon cars have their fans, but personally I cannot say that I am one of them. The seats are decently comfortable, but I've noticed that they do fall apart easily. There's harsh lighting, and ride quality wise, these are basically glorified commuter cars. Plus, in the winter, especially in the Midwest, let's just say they're not very snowproof. But hey, don't catch me complaining. I'm on one of the first services of Amtrak's brand new train.
Welcome to Amtrak's historic Union Station in Chicago. Thank you for traveling with us today.
At 11:05, the train lurches forward and we depart Chicago Union Station en route to St. Paul, Minnesota. Along the way, the train will mostly stop at stations in Wisconsin, with a few stations in Minnesota, but our first stop will be Glenview, Illinois.
So I've officially made the first few miles on the Borealis. It is packed, even the section going beyond Milwaukee. The excitement of a new train is dampened a little bit when you realize that it's still subject to Amtrak's archaic boarding process. Like, that was a mess. But, you know, we're on a new train. Let's keep a positive attitude. I've already met some really nice people.
So let's do a quick seat check. Your devices can be charged with power sockets located towards the window, while your bags can be stored on spacious luggage racks above. Towards the side, there's a button that controls the recline, which is moderate, and then same for legroom. For Amtrak standards, it's not that much, but still, compared to an airplane or most trains around the world, it's very generous. And then there's a fold-out table from the seat in front of you. Ooh, it's kinda crusty. Yay. And then, like I was saying earlier, the seats come apart pretty easily. Just don't pull too hard.
So, what exactly is the Borealis? It's a new Amtrak train. It's additional frequency on an existing route. It's an extension of an already existing train. It's kind of all of the above. The first few stops are Glenview, Sturtevant, Milwaukee Airport, and Milwaukee, stops that the Borealis shares with the Hiawatha service. The Hiawatha is a very short Amtrak service. It's almost like a commuter train that runs 7 times a day between Chicago and Milwaukee. Well, now it's 6 times a day because one Hiawatha service, the 333 northbound and the 340 southbound, has been extended to and from St. Paul. The Borealis is basically a Hiawatha extension. I believe the state of Wisconsin is planning to extend more Hiawatha services in the future to places like Eau Claire, Madison, and Green Bay. In fact, next year's NFL draft is in Green Bay, and I've heard talks of maybe already having a temporary service up there next year,
with the more permanent service to follow a few years later.
The introduction of the Borealis ushers in a reasonably optimistic future of Amtrak expansion across the country. But for the Borealis route specifically, we're not traveling anywhere new today. North of Milwaukee, we follow the route of the already existing Empire Builder. The Empire Builder is a service that runs from Chicago to Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. I have several trip reports of it on the channel already. The Empire Builder is a once daily train, so this daily Borealis service definitely adds some much needed extra capacity. North of Milwaukee, we make all the same station stops as the Empire Builder. I've noticed that tickets on the Borealis tend to sell for a little bit cheaper than on the Empire Builder, so definitely keep that in mind if you're traveling on this section. So in a few minutes, we'll make a stop at Milwaukee, which used to be the last stop for this train. I just overheard the conductor saying that about 100 people are getting off here and about 50 people are getting on at Milwaukee, which is really impressive. Obviously, a lot of people are going to get off there. This basically is just an extended Hiawatha, so that makes sense, but I didn't expect that many people to get on for points west of Milwaukee.
At Milwaukee's intermodal terminal, we stop for about 10 minutes to allow for a crew change.
So this is pretty weird, but normally when they scan your ticket, they'll put a little card up there that just tells any future crews where you're going to. They didn't do that here. Instead, after the crew change in Milwaukee, the new crew is going to scan our tickets again. So I was hoping to go to the cafe car. I just got to wait till the conductor comes by. So the Borealis has replaced one Hiawatha round trip a day. What makes it different from the Hiawatha, other than that it's much longer, of course? Well, the Borealis has a cafe car. The Hiawatha notoriously did not have one. It just had a cafe car without cafe services because those are the cars that the Wi-Fi modems are located in. You couldn't and still can't get food on board on the Hiawatha because, well, it's an hour-and-a-half trip. It's not super necessary. Definitely saves Wisconsin a lot of money. But for a trip of the length of the Borealis, you do have a cafe car. Now let's look at the menu. They announced that this menu would have lots of regional specialties, which may be the case, but I'm not seeing cheese curds, so we are west of Milwaukee now. Definitely on the Borealis, not the Hiawatha.
I did buy one regional specialty, some caribou coffee from Minnesota. bathroom tour on the Borealis. So this is a Horizon car bathroom. It's got your little pee bench. And then you guys know one of my biggest gripes about these Horizon cars are the stupid sinks that they normally have where you have to like push up, but it's still not the best sink ever, but it's light years ahead of what they used to have in here. The Borealis is funded by the Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota Departments of Transportation, while the Empire Builder, of course, is part of Amtrak's long-distance national network. To get the Borealis up and running took years of planning and preparation. The freight tracks we're running on had to be modified. There had to be funding. There had to be enough trains to run the service. There were a few announced start dates that never happened, but the Borealis is officially here. We're sitting in it. Now, back in the 70s, there was an additional frequency on this route, another long-distance train called the North Coast Hiawatha, which also ran from Chicago to Seattle, but using a different route through Montana. And when the North Coast Hiawatha was a 3-day-a-week train, on the other 4 days of the week, they would run the Twin Cities Hiawatha from Chicago to the Twin Cities. Now, Hiawatha was the name of the flagship trains of the Milwaukee Road, a railroad that doesn't exist anymore, but who built the tracks that we're running on today. I know a lot of people wanted the Borealis to be called the Twin Cities Hiawatha, but initially Amtrak's plan was to call this train the Great River, named after the Mississippi River, which the train parallels when it runs along the Minnesota-Wisconsin border. Ultimately, I think the name Great River was so unpopular that they went with Borealis. I kind of like Borealis. Not only does it sound cool, but a few weeks ago when Amtrak was announcing the launch of this train, there was a solar event that made it possible for many people across the United States who normally don't get a chance to see the Northern Lights to see them. The Northern Lights, of course, are called Aurora Borealis, and that's what the train is named after. Obviously, Amtrak couldn't control that, but still, it's a fun coincidence.
For those of you departing at Columbus, please make sure you have all your personal belongings. Don't forget to check the overhead and around your seats. Once you're sure you have all your belongings.
It's a big step down. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Watch your step. It's a big step down.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, sure.
Welcome to the bustling metropolis of Columbus, Wisconsin. I didn't think it would be raining. I'm not prepared. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, I'm not riding all the way to St. Paul. I'd love to someday, but this week I just have too much going on in Chicago, so I'm gonna wait here for a couple hours and then take the 1340 back to Chicago. We've arrived in Columbus, a town of a little over 5,000 people, about 45 minutes north of the state capital, Madison. The 19th century history of Columbus is tied to the history of the Whitney Hotel, which for a long time was a very luxurious hotel, but fell out of use. Rather than get demolished, preservationists were able to spare it, and now it serves as low-income housing, which I think is really cool. Let's leave the station building now.
Well, according to yesterday's forecast, it wasn't supposed to rain, but that's on me for not checking again today. Still, we have about 2 hours here. Would have been 2.5 hours, but we did pick up a little bit of a delay. It was only about 10 minutes, but then that meant that we had to wait for the eastbound Empire Builder, and that added like 25 minutes to the delay. But we're in Columbus. We're gonna go explore Columbus. You know what this means. It's time for another episode of Let's go. All right, this rain isn't too bad. I'm Dutch, I'll be fine. So just a few blocks from the station is downtown. Earlier when I was checking out the station building, the very kind lady at the station gave me one of the souvenir Amtrak goodie bags that they handed out on the first day. So that was awesome. And then told me some stuff to check out here. So I was just in a thrift store, really the coolest, most meticulously organized thrift store I've ever been to. And I got to talking with the owner, and he was telling me how in the 70s and the 80s, Columbus was such a popular, bustling downtown, so many different stores, and it all kind of went away.
Yeah, 'cause when I first came to town, there was the JCPenney.
Right.
Yeah, I used to go over there and be able to buy t-shirts, socks, and underwear, and and other stuff, and and then the bakery, we got a nice bakery up here.
I asked him why, and he said more people got cars, more highways were built, the city got bypassed, jobs moved away, and it's been a struggle, he said. The Columbus Antique Mall. This was the top recommendation that the lady at the station gave me.
It's basically just a store that took over the entire floor space of a decommissioned factory. You put your bag in a locker and then you're free to explore. I spent about half an hour there, and I'm telling you, I don't think I saw 10% of it.
I am just like absolutely overwhelmed at how much square footage of stuff is in this store. It's like an old factory, and they've converted all of it into an antique store. It just never ends. Wow, that store was incredible. I got some cool stuff. On the train back, I'll show you. It leaves in about an hour, and I still want to get some food. Part of the reason why I chose to come to Columbus is because they have a Culver's here. And when in Rome, or I guess when in Columbus, Tom in the Midwest is so back, baby. Now, if you're wondering, what's Tom in the Midwest? Back when I lived in Chicago, my job had me going to a lot of small Midwestern towns. So I kind of made it a thing to explore each of these towns and to document my explorations. And that became the Tom in the Midwest series. I guess this is another installment. Here we go, the promised land. Oh, and there's a quick trip over there. Man, I wish I had more time. From Wisconsin with love. All right, back at Columbus Amtrak station. I got some cheese curds, so we're all good now. While I was walking over here, the store owner from earlier honked at me and waved, and I love that. That was great. Anyways, let's talk about the Borealis. I've been in like explore Columbus mode, so forgot to do that, but let's talk about the train. Honestly, I was very impressed with how well used it was. My car was already packed in Chicago, 50 new people in Milwaukee, 7 people got off here in Columbus, but then at least 20 got on. So few of the people I met were train enthusiasts that were just riding it to ride it, but most people were actually just traveling because they had business or other reasons to travel between St. Paul and Chicago. So I think it is a very welcome addition to the American passenger rail system. Honestly, based off of my experience today, I think we have every reason to be optimistic. The Borealis is just the first of many expansions that I think we'll see over the next few years. Of course, we have one from New Orleans to Mobile, Alabama coming hopefully soon, and much more beyond that. If they're as successful as I think the Borealis will be, then we have a bright future ahead of us. Now, about the experience itself, the train ride was very comfortable. We went fast most of the time. Horizon cars are bumpy, but whatever. Amfleets have definitely held up better over the years than the Horizons have. But the boarding process in Chicago, man, that needs to change. It was a mess. Some people were acting like absolute maniacs, just pushing, shoving, cutting. I think you can have this great new experience of having a new train, and that'll attract a lot of people, but if you make the boarding such a nightmare, I do think that turns some people off. Anyways, overall, I am very positive. happy to have tried out the Borealis, and in a few minutes I'll get to ride it again because we're taking the 1340 back to Chicago. Wow, 10 seconds and I got soaked.
Board train 1340, this is Borealis service. Our next scheduled station is 540.
Alright, I told you guys that on the train I would show you what I bought at the antique mall. Well, here's my haul. It's mostly just publications from old railroads. So there's old Amtrak schedules, old RTA brochures, even old commuter passes, a telegraph pass. I don't even know from what year that is.
Twin Cities, the Green City, the Windy City. We'd like to thank you for choosing Amtrak. Thank you for choosing the, whatever this one is, the Borealis. Hope to see you again soon in Chicago.
I mean, what better way to end the day than to park right next to my favorite heritage locomotive. Borealis, thank you for a great day. I had such a good time today. I hope you did too. I'm almost done editing the video as of right now, so hopefully it'll be up tomorrow. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, good news. I have more Amtrak trip reports coming, more of different kinds of videos, just more of everything. So subscribe to Trains Are Awesome so you don't miss any of it. Thank you to the 40,000 people who already have. You guys mean a lot to me. And we'll see you next time.